book lovers, welcome to Uncommon Reader. I'm Daniela and happy Halloween. Before my October favorites, I wanted to squeeze in this awesome book tag created by Meg at Books Off the Beaten Path and Heather at Heather Reads. They created this trick or treat tag, and I love it because it only has 2 questions, but it gives you the opportunity to talk about some interesting books. In this video, I was tagged by Meg herself and Pat of Book Chat with Pat, and I will link their videos in the info box. And I'm gonna reveal what the prompts are. The first one is tricks. Pick 5 books which you have read that did not turn out the way you were hoping for, like getting candy, but it's not the kind you like. Tell us the reason this book didn't work for you. The second prompt is treats, of course. Pick 5 books which you have read that were the best reading experiences you ever had. So I don't think I need the glasses for these because I am going to just speak from my heart. The first trick book was actually a classic, a beloved classic that I just couldn't digest while I was reading it. And I'm talking about the very famous Wuthering Heights, which is a favorite of many booktubers, I hear. So for me, this book didn't work because I didn't really respect or agree with the behavior of the 2 characters, meaning Heathcliff and Catherine. So for me, Catherine was such a drama queen, like always being like, oh my God, this has happened. And no. And then Heathcliff, I think he was so evil and so mean to people that didn't have anything to do with his misfortunes, and also very mean to his own child. So I just couldn't believe my eyes when I was reading this book, and I really cannot comprehend why this tragic love, it was such a big hit. As much as I love very intriguing stories, I could name you a few, like The Damage by Josephine Hart, but the fact that evil is done intentionally to other people just to have some sort of revenge, which really didn't pay off anyway. I just simply don't sympathize with that. The second tricky book for me is We Do Not Part by Nobel Prize winner for literature, Han Kang. This book didn't work for me. I have appreciated her previous The Vegetarian, which it was a complicated read, but after the story sunk within me, I do appreciate her labor for that book. This one for me was a bit too complicated. The protagonist is going on this trip to save an animal while a friend of her is at the hospital, and she has to fly to this little island, and a storm is raging, and so she gets lost in the snow, and at one point she has an accident, she falls and she hits her head, and from that moment you really don't understand if when she wakes up she's living reality or hallucinating. So it gets really complicated. And then she reaches the house and you still don't know, is this happening or not? And she has visions. And the story changes once again. The focus is all on a massacre that happened in Korea a few decades before. So you really lose track of the protagonist at one point. So it was very complicated and confusing to me. So I wasn't as intrigued as I was with her previous book, The Vegetarian. The third trick book for me was The Mystery Guest by Nita Prose. I did enjoy immensely her first of this series, The Maid, because the protagonist, Molly, at that time was very ingenuous and naive, but in a certain way still a little funny, and the story was quite original. But the second book, I feel like the character of Molly has changed a little, so maybe a little more uptight, just scolding everybody. So I also thought that the mystery in question, as in the first book, to be honest, but I think the novelty of the protagonist was holding up the whole book. In this case, the mystery happening, the case to be solved, was not as entertaining. So now I'm going to give you a name that's very much revered everywhere in the world, actually, I believe so. Margaret Atwood. Yeah, so I really didn't enjoy the Penelopead. I thought that her portrait of Penelope was quite too frail, felt really, really weak as a character. Meanwhile, with other books, retelling books about women in mythology, I have read about a very strong and clever Penelope, for example, in Circe, where she is mentioned a few times. She really stands out as a very intelligent, as much as her husband, Ulysses. My idea of Penelope was totally different from what Margaret Atwood portrayed. So the final book that for me was very tricky to read was Getting Lost by another Nobel Prize winner for literature, Annie Ernaux, and I did appreciate A Girl's Story, which I read previously, and I really liked that one because it was written by herself as in a third person. So she was speaking about herself as she and not me. So that was quite unique. This book focuses on a secret affair that Annie Ernaux had with a Russian diplomat. All her books are kind of autobiographical, of course, so she reveals finally this love affair that she had when she was in her 50s or 40s, and she was madly in love with this diplomat who was married, so they had to hide their relationship from everybody, and they were both kind of famous, so they really needed to be very careful. She was madly in love with him, and somehow throughout this brief relationship, I mean, maybe it lasted a couple of years, maybe a little less, she was so lost that she didn't give any importance to her job, her sons. She was at that time divorced. And so she kind of forgot herself into this mad love affair. It was also a little repetitive, actually. The structure of the book is written as a diary. So after that many years, she kept a diary when she was seeing this man. At one point, she decided that it was okay to share the story. Probably, he was no longer living, so she thought it wouldn't harm anybody, and she never revealed the name anyways. She went back and looked at what she wrote in those journals, and she decided not to change a thing. And so it gets a little repetitive because, you see this anxiety of waiting for his call, and so I really don't like women who get lost, because of a man. I know it's kind of a romantic idea, but when there is not a balanced relationship, yeah, it could be fun for a while, but 2 years of being so desperate, no, thank you. So let's move to the treats. Yes. For my treats, I didn't pick books that are, of such literary value that they can stand the test of time, but I did choose books that I got very entertained by reading them. And most of them actually quite appropriate for Halloween. And the first one being one of my favorite reads. I think this was my favorite reads of 2023. Again, I mentioned her before, Circe by Madeline Miller. I really love the depth that Miller gave to this character. We always thought about her as a crazy witch, and instead we see her way more human than a goddess, and the fact that she only wanted to be accepted and loved by her family, and instead she was exiled and she had to live alone in this island, and she started cultivating these herbs and getting familiar with magic so she could do a few tricks here and there. I really enjoyed her transformation, her sensibility, and the fact that we had an idea of Circe that was completely different from what Madeline Miller created here. I think it's one of my favorite retellings. I didn't read as many this year. I actually did read one that wasn't much of a success for me, but I'll tell you more about in my October wrap-up. And again, I didn't want to pick books from 2025 because, of course, I don't want to spoil any surprises, although I did give away a couple of books that were some of my favorite reads this year that will make my top 10 maybe of 2025. Another very intriguing book is The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. I have my edition here in Italian, Il segreto della speziale. And I love this book because it's such a page turner. It's set in two different times in, I think, around the 1800s and in modern times. So we have two women protagonists, and one of them is an herbalist that runs this little herbal shop in a very dark neighborhood in London, and she is selling poison only to women that want to get rid of their significant other for any reason, but she can only sell poison to women. And one of these poison bottles actually ends up in the Thames, in the river, in London River. And the lady that will find this bottle in present days will sort of go back and try to discover who this bottle belonged to, because she is an historian, so she wants to solve a mystery. And we will unveil the mystery and also some of the personal life of this lady who finds the bottle in present time. That's really, really entertaining. It's such a joy to read this book. I really recommend it, and not just for Halloween. And here is my favorite ghost story. Not that I've read many because I don't like them too much, but this is a very delicate ghost story. It's called Her Fearful Symmetry by Audrey Nissenegger. I love this story. It's filled with so many intriguing characters, starting with these two twins that inherit a flat in London. They are from USA, and they inherit this flat from an aunt who is their mom's twin, and they didn't know the existence of this aunt because her mom sort of had a fight with her. So the two decided to stop communicating, and so the two girls don't know anything about this aunt. But there is a little catch. Before they can sell the flat, they need to live in it for 1 year. And so they decide, okay, let's move to London for a year, live in the apartment, then we'll sell it. But something happens in that year that you will want to find out. Reading this book is really cool. The last two books have more of a sentimental value for me because I was so joyous while reading them. And the first one is The Paris Bookseller by Kerry Maher. This is the fictionalized, if I can use this term, biography of Sylvia Beach, who was the founder of the first Shakespeare & Company in Paris. It's her true story, and I mean, me and Paris, you know, we we just have an affair, a romantic affair, maybe me with Paris alone. So Anything set in Paris will warm my heart, but to read something that happened, you learn how the struggles that she had, and also what it represented at the time of La Belle Époque, to have a library with English books. And it was like a hub for a lot of big names like Gertrude Stein, Fitzgerald, and even Hemingway hung out there, and even James Joyce. And Sylvia Beach with her Shakespeare and Company was the first one to actually publish the Ulysses by James Joyce. So if you have a chance, give it a try. It's really heartwarming. If you like Paris, I think it's a must read. And the last one, again, another book set in Paris, and in English it's called A Life Before Us by Romain Gary. He's one of my favorite writers, and this book is so endearing because the narrator is a child that lives with a prostitute. Is actually an ex-prostitute. This little kid here, well, it's not really the kid, but I mean, even this face, look at this kid, so adorable. And it really resembles the idea that I had of Momo, who is the storyteller here of his own life and his own struggles, because Madame Rosa, who takes care of him, and other children whose mothers are prostitutes, but they don't have the means and nor the time to take care of their kids. She is struggling with her health and money, and so he's trying to help, and he's so savvy and so witty at this young age that you will enjoy every page of this book. And despite the difficulties, what I enjoyed more, and I really felt my heart going out for him, was the fact that he was hopeful for the future. He really felt like there was something coming for him that will change things. And to have that in kids, despite the difficulties, makes me think of all those kids that are suffering for wars around the world right now. If they can still hold on to hope, well, that will help tremendously in their outlook in life. So this is one of my all-time favorite books. So these are my tricks and treats. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and I would love to know if you have any you'd like to share with me. Thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting my channel. I look forward to see you back here on Uncommon Reader. In the meantime, happy reading. Ciao!